Hello, everybody. My name is Deb Coviello, and I'd like to welcome you to the Drop-In CEO live talk media with Germain and Denis. Germain, I am so excited to bring you on today. Welcome to the conversation.
Thank you very much, Deborah. It's such a pleasure to be here. I was on your podcast last year, around a year ago, I think. But now this is tied to your new book, The CEO Compass. This is really exciting. So I'm happy to be here.
So I'm excited too. And just for people that are watching or listening to this today, Germain and I go back a little bit over a year. Shout out to Peter Gorel, who introduced us. He was episode 13. And if you want to catch that, his episode was How to Empower Your Team to Embrace Technology and New Systems. And also, congratulations for being on Peter's podcast, You Are Your Brand. Next, the book tour, you speaking events. What's next for you?
What's next? Well, actually, it's interesting. I had a busy 2020, and I'll talk about that later. But I set my objectives for 2021, and I'll give them to you in the reverse order. I love working. I will never retire, even though I'm over 40. I love working. I love the interaction with people. So I want to work some of the time in 2021. I want to be able to enjoy life. Number two, that's really important, right? Play sometimes and everything else. And number three, as I mentioned them to you, I want to be healthy, stay healthy. So I actually listed them to you in the reverse order of priorities. Health first, enjoy life, and work. Those are my 2021 priorities. And I've been on break since Christmas, which is nice. And now it's spring. I have spring fever. And I'm eager to get on to something else. And I have a few interesting things in the pipe. So,
these so resonate, and I'm so glad I had you on the show today because I too am going through some of those similar evaluations or assessments of my prior year and moving forward. And I too, very busy last year. I'm grateful for being able to serve others. A little bit of a slowdown this first quarter, but it gives you the time and opportunity to focus on the priorities, the writing of the CEO's compass, thinking about my objectives, flipping the pyramid, and I too placing health, connection, and then the business in that priority. Because again, when we don't take care of ourselves, there is no business, there is no energy to serve others. So kudos to you. More people should be taking a break and reflecting.
thank
So
you.
I'd love to tee this up. So, I'm as I'm writing the book again, there's so much I'm seeing as I'm writing it, the CEO's compass. And one of the compass points that I see sometimes leaders maybe miss, and I call it pride, but it's that understanding the gifts of the people that they bring to the table that we may not know about. Sometimes we just show up, assemble teams, and we just hit the ground running, trying to solve whatever the business issue is or transformation. But I have seen a big connection between pride of the people and aligning it with purpose. And so you have dropped into organizations so many times and serve people. So what is it that you see or do when you drop into an organization to embrace the people and align them with the mission at hand?
That's a really great topic. And I love talking about that, actually. People will know that I'm passionate about that. When I start working with an organization, the first thing that I had to do is I make sure that I understand the vision and purpose of the company and support the leadership team in that. But then at the same time, I have to get to know the team and make sure that they understand. And sometimes you have to maybe filter the communication or rework it a little bit to make sure that it gets to everybody, but then understand each of their individual strengths, and then understand the group dynamics and how you can best use them. And as you do that, I get to know people as individuals first, and then as professionals. And as you do that, you're kind of establishing trust. You share some stories, and the results are really, really. I mean, for me, the results really, really work, and I'm really grateful for that.
There's so much insight in what you say there. And I too do the same thing. And it's something I think leaders need to develop, especially emerging leaders. As you say, you drop into a situation and there's a period of deep listening. Listening, I often advise people speak less, listen more, about a 70-30 split, because then once you have all that data, we're technology professionals here, data is critical. Once you have all that data, then you can come back and be able to respond or understand this is what I need to do in service to the people.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And you have to ask a lot of questions because we don't have the answers. We don't have all of the answers. We may have suggestions once we get to know the information, as you say, but we don't know the answers. And that's always a really bad assumption going in.
You know, absolutely. And the other thing you talk about, and this is critical, I coach this to emerging leaders, is, you know, in order to build that trust, learn the talents, the gifts of the individuals, and then you have to study the dynamics because just knowing and helping and supporting individuals, it becomes a whole new dimension when then you see all of that pride and that passion coming together. Sometimes then it's a source of conflict, and that too becomes what we do as leaders, helping to people to navigate and create a cohesive team.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, let's bring this to life a little bit. So, I know you're very experienced. You've done this many, many times, but I'm wondering if you can maybe share a story about a situation where when you did drop into a situation and you had to provide leadership, what was that like and what was the impact either on an individual or maybe the team?
Well, I'm going to talk about my time at Ceridian in 2020 because it's very relevant to what we're discussing. Excuse me. And keep in mind, I started there at the end of April, right in the middle of the pandemic, right? So everybody was told to work from home. New hires, everybody, including me, but I didn't mind because I've been working from home since 2008, something like that. But working from home normally and working from home because you can only work from home under pandemic rules is very, very different. So I joined Ceridian, and I'm really grateful for this opportunity that Beth Carroll, the SVP, gave me. They were introducing a new business model, which I was familiar with, and transitioning from basically being, and I'll use product specialist, not in a negative way, but product specialist to consulting services. Right? That was the whole idea. So I joined to do that, and what I found, to be honest, a couple of things that I found immediately: that the strategy of the company and their communication were great, really well done, but it didn't get to everybody, didn't resonate with everybody. So there was some skepticism. All the companies go through a lot of change right now. There were some misunderstandings and some reluctance to change on the part of many, right? And I was actually told, well, you're not going to be able to do what you want to do. I said, well, wait and see, right? The strategy is good. Let's wait and see. So I took the time to get to know the people there again. And the same way as I did everywhere else, right? That I've done everywhere else. It's always the same kind of thing. And I found, number one is that the work-life balance was completely off. Some people have way, way too much work, but it wasn't obvious why. So when we got into it, the scheduling, and this is not to criticize anybody, but consultants were asked to take on a new project before they could roll off the previous one. Or they would start a project, but the client wasn't ready. Or they would want to put it in, roll over to support, but the client wasn't ready. So we had to do a fair bit of strategizing, and I work with my peers, understand how all of this works, and we came up with much better ways of doing things gradually, right? And also the other thing is I clarified why their behavior. Excuse me, that's my voice.
No worries, because I see you starting to bring together purpose and people's talents together, but you went deeper into understanding where were there the disconnects. So let's keep going with that work-life balance.
Yeah, so that was a really, really difficult problem. But once we realized what was happening, somebody starting a project before they could roll off, and in some cases more than one project, then we realized, okay, this is a problem. But before we could solve that bigger problem, we had an immediate problem where some of the consultants were scheduled so heavily, they weren't going to succeed in any of them, right? Or they risked not succeeding at any of them. So we reworked some of the assignments. We pushed some work off. And actually that made a huge difference for some of them. And there's a few that afterwards got some really great accolades for the work they did, which they deserved, but they would have missed that opportunity, I think, if we couldn't have done that. So I was proud of that, but they were proud of their work. They had accomplished something really, really significant, and everybody recognized it.
That's a beautiful story because again, I have a vision of the CEO's compass, ways that I see senior leaders and organizations might be off track, and you dropped in just for that, or coming in during a time of transformation.
Yeah,
But, you could have said, okay, they're not aligned with the strategy. They're not aligned with the purpose. They're a little bit difficult. Come on, we got to get them on board. But you took the time to dig in a little bit deeper, and the root cause being that the work quantity and the alignment of the work was too much or too soon. That's lean methodology, that's overproduction. And you had to sort that out in order to be able to enable people to move forward, being aligned with the purpose and
yeah,
understanding the kind of work that they're doing. They're proud, and even elevating, being more proud about the work that they're doing.
yeah, and they were being noticed. And there's another interesting aspect. I've been in consulting for a long time, so I'm very, very aware of the importance of charging billable hours to projects, right? They impact revenue, the company revenue, they impact the consultant's bonus, even in this case, but some people did not realize that. They didn't realize that what they put in hours against their project would impact their bonus until we tried to communicate it. But one time I asked one of the um, senior analysts from operations to come and explain how that bonus structure worked. And it was a real eye opener, right? Everybody saw, oh, wow, I better enter all this time here, right? Shadowing counted, training counted, but billable time is the most important. And at the end of the day, the company can't really recognize that revenue if you haven't put the time against that project for that client, right? So then everything kind of came together. Right? It was a great experience. I'm so thankful for having worked there, and I built some really great relationships, and I'm in touch with several. And I still every now and then somebody will send me a note saying, "Oh, I finished this project and went really well." Great, great, good to hear.
Those moments when the people we connect with in business remember you for how you help them, and then even more acknowledge us. We don't look for it. We're humble people. We don't look for it. But when they do, it's just validation for the work that we're doing and the legacy that we've left behind. So I'm grateful to know you. And also, I don't want to take too much of your time because, as you said, you want to enjoy life, stay healthy. But I also would ask you about leaving a legacy. As we think about, again, you are very experienced. You want to leave an impact with others, whether it's up and coming senior leaders or CEOs, or a CEO that recently dropped in. Is there anything that you want to share with them that will enable them to be successful when they try to help companies through transformation?
If they drop into, I mean, to me, my legacy, and this is very simple. I would be really happy if my legacy was that I help people be their best. Simple as that, right? And
Beautiful.
so if a leader joins a new organization under a lot of change, which is the case right now, uh, I think the first thing they need to do is kind of get a lay of the land, right? They need to understand what's going on. Again, what's the company's strategy and vision? Because everybody has to have a purpose. You have to understand that. Where are we going? I'll give you another example. The company I worked for was acquired by Oracle some years ago. It was a real culture shock going from 4,000 employees to 100,000 employees. And they have heavy processes and this and that, which was all necessary, but it was still a big adjustment. So I needed to understand, okay, how do things work around here? Which is understanding culture, basically, right? How do things work? Who can help me, or who can I help? And then for my team, made sure they understood where the company wanted to go, what they were doing. There was a big change for all of us, big change for our clients, but understand why the company was doing it. Whether everybody agreed with it on our team or not, it's not for me to decide the company's strategy. It's for me to make sure it's executed, right? As a middle manager, if you will, right? So in different roles, I can help set strategy, but in these roles, the leader comes in, you have to make sure everybody executes that strategy. So You have to get the lay of the land, understand the people, understand who's strong, who you can put and assign in different roles. And then again, the same kind of recipe works, I think.
Beautiful. Again, do the work, elevate the business, help them through rapid change, but
Yeah.
ultimately leave a lasting impact. And that's the beautiful work that you do,
Yeah.
as well as myself. So I'm going to bring this to a close, but this is not the end or last conversation. But I know people will want to learn more about you or get to know you for possibly some work. How can people connect with you, Germain?
Oh, people can connect with me on LinkedIn primarily. I'm there every day. I write blogs. I write blogs about teamwork, people, teamwork, collaboration. And that's pretty constant. That's my passion. I'm a human-centric leader, servant leader, people first leader. So you'll hear that often if you read my material. I use nature very often to guide me, and I use nature as examples. Right, trees. I love trees. Everybody loves trees, but I use trees and mushrooms and all this good stuff. But it all boils down to collaboration. And so what I want to do now is I want to help companies or help teams of people, either through helping them do effective remote work, because that's going to continue for some time. How to help with the adoption of technology. The non-technical adoption of technology is a big, big change leadership challenge. And then I can coach, I can mentor, I can, speak or contribute to certain initiatives. So that's basically what I'm up to right now.
All right. Well, listen, you've been an amazing guest. I sincerely appreciate you sharing your stories, sharing your insights. We can help others be successful, achieve amazing results, and elevate people. I just wish you a great rest of your day. And thank you so much for joining me on the Drop In CEO Live Talk Media.
Thank you, Deborah. It's been a really real pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.